Caitlin Clark made her preseason debut as the Indiana Fever traveled to Iowa City to take on the Brazilian national team in front of a sold-out arena. There is so much to go over, you guys, so let's jump right in. What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Yesterday was the highly anticipated preseason game where the Indiana Fever traveled to the University of Iowa to play the Brazilian national team. People were so excited for this game for many reasons, but the main one being that Caitlin Clark would be returning to her alum to Iowa to play at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Her jersey is in the rafters at that arena, and they also have a spot on the floor where she broke the NCAA scoring record. It's a 22 on the court, and that was one of her signature logo threes. So there were so many reasons to be excited for this game. Tickets for this game actually sold out within the hour when it was announced, and people were lining up for over 3 hours before the game just to get into this arena. So to say that this game was highly anticipated and was hyped up would be an understatement, even though the Brazilian national team, I think a lot of us knew that it wasn't going to be a close game. This Brazilian national team, I do want to say shout out to them because they are a lot of young players, a lot of players who, if they were living in the States, would be in high school or would be freshmen in college. This is a young team, but they came out there, played in an environment like that Iowa arena environment in front of that big crowd on national television, and played against a team like the Indiana Fever who could be WNBA contenders this season. So shout out to them. I feel like even though they lost by, what was the final score? 44 to 108. How many points is that? Like 64 points. Even though they lost by that much, it still seemed like they had a great time. Caitlin was signing their jerseys after the game. They were taking photos with her and the rest of the Indiana Fever, making TikToks on the floor, shooting from her signature logo spot. All in all, it seemed to be a great experience for that team, and the Indiana Fever also looked great. Now, as you guys know, I was able to go to the Indiana Fever's first preseason game in Indiana, but Caitlin Clark did not play in that game, but I got to see what the Fever looked like without her on the court, and then yesterday we got to see what the Indiana Fever looks like with her on the court, what the possible rotations will be. There's a lot to go over, and we actually went live for this game, so shout out to all of you guys who joined the live. I do plan on doing a lot more of those watch-along live parties during the WNBA season. So make sure that you guys are subscribed, you have your notifications on so you don't miss any of those. That's just a great way for us to be able to interact, talk about the game as it's going on. So I definitely plan on doing more of those. Stay tuned for that. But there's so many things that happened during the game that I do want to go over today. So like I mentioned, the Indiana Fever won big, 108 to 44. The starters for this game were DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Caitlin Clark at the 1. When I was watching in Indiana, Sydney Colson started at the 1, but like I mentioned to you guys in my last recap video, if you haven't watched that, make sure that you do. Sophie Cunningham actually acted as the backup point guard even when Sydney Colson was on the floor. So when Sydney Colson was on the floor with the starting unit, she was playing point guard, but anytime Sophie Cunningham came in, she immediately became the backup point guard. So I do wonder how the rotation is going to be when Caitlin Clark is there, and it seems like Sophie is the first player to come in off the bench, and she normally checks in for DeWanna Bonner. So we will just have to see if that is how the rotation stays for the rest of the season. I will say that Sydney Colson played a much better game in this Iowa game than she did when I saw her play in Indiana. She definitely stepped it up. She had some flashy passes. They were having a lot of fun. The biggest thing that I noticed about this team, and I mentioned it in my live stream yesterday, other WNBA teams are not going to be able to guard Caitlin Clark in the same way that they did during her rookie season because you have so many assets on the court now. You are not going to be able to face guard, double team, trap Caitlin Clark because there are so many other threats on the floor. And all of these players, you can't leave them open on the three-point line as well. DB can shoot threes, Natasha Howard can shoot threes, Aaliyah Boston can shoot threes, Kelsey Mitchell can shoot threes. And I believe at one point in the game, their three-point shooting percentage, let me look. Oh yeah, so they ended up this game, they ended up shooting 45% from 45.5% from three during this game against the Brazilian national team. Like, this team has some great shooters. Kelsey Mitchell had 4 threes. Caitlin Clark had 4 threes. Sophie had 1 3. Sydney had 1 3. Lexi Hall was 3 for 3 from threes. Bree Hall had a 3, but we will get to her later on. And Dewana Bonner had a 3. So this is a team with so many threats, not only on the outside, but players who can score on every single level. Other WNBA teams are going to have to think of another solution for Caitlin Clark because they're not going to be able to guard her the way that they did during her rookie season. She only played 19 minutes in this game. All of the starters played under 20 minutes this game. It was nothing like the game I saw against the Washington Mystics where they got a ton of play. And they were also doing rotations where their starters and key players off the bench were really only playing about 3 minutes at a time. And none of the starters actually played in the fourth quarter. And with 30 seconds left in the third quarter, right before Caitlin Clark was about to come out of the game and be done for the night, she hits her signature logo 3 from 36 feet. Yes, I said it. 36 feet. She was actually behind her signature logo that was on the court. It was a really cool moment. And even when I was on live, I actually had to rewind it because I was like, wait, did I just see what I thought I just saw? And she shot it from beyond that logo, hit it. Then she turns and she points to Ryan Ruocco, who has the you bet call that he does for all of her 3-pointers. It was just such a really cool moment. Obviously, the internet exploded, the arena exploded. Everybody was just holding on and hoping that she would hit a 3 from her signature logo. So that was a super fun moment in the game. Now, after the game, she did a post-game interview where the entire Indiana Fever team ran up behind her and got so excited. The chemistry on this team just seems excellent already. All of these players look like they're having fun on the court, having fun on the bench. There's no egos, and Caitlin talked about that in another interview. It doesn't seem like there are any egos on this team that are going to get in the way of their one goal, and that is to win a championship. And Caitlin mentioned that once again in this post-game interview, so I want to share with you guys what she had to say.
What is the ceiling for this Indiana Fever team? So many new additions, great former additions. The ball was moving, the passes were popping. What is possible for this group this year?
Yeah, a championship, that's our goal, and I think working every single day. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and we got a new team, so it's going to take some time to put it all together, but I think everybody's thankful. We got some really great vets that have won before, and then we got some people back, and then Steph's amazing and her staff. So just taking time to put it all together, but it should be a great season.
This is something that continues to come up with this Indiana Fever team. It seems like no matter who is getting interviewed, they all mention that championship is the goal. It is championship or bust. Nothing is changing with this team. They were all gathered around. They were all hyped for that moment. And not only is this a championship team, this is a team who makes every game a home game. We talked about the t-shirt that they are currently selling on the Indiana Fever's team store. But let's talk about the attendance for this game. So there were 14,998 people in attendance for this game at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And the average reported ticket price was $650. Now, if you do the math here and you do 15,000 people times $650, that is almost $9.75 million just for a WNBA preseason game. This team is going to break so many records this year. I know we've talked about it. Attendance, viewership, merch sales, all of the things. The fan base that rides behind this Indiana Fever team, even the game that I was at that Caitlin Clark didn't play, the attendance was recorded at 12,461. Even with it being a preseason game that Caitlin didn't play in, there is so much motion behind this team. And I think the more that the Indiana Fever wins, the greater that they are this season. That bandwagon of fans is just going to continue growing. So definitely hop on while there is still room, because this team the aura is insane. Now, you would think with this being such a big game for Caitlin, her returning to her alumni in Iowa and her hitting that massive logo 3, the logo 3 during the game, that some of her sponsors would want to show her support on social media, do any sort of marketing to uplift her and uplift their brand. And one who did do that was Gatorade. They tweeted a photo of her and they said, "Real home court advantage. Welcome back to Iowa, Caitlin Clark." Now, one of her lead sponsors that was noticeably quiet yesterday was Nike. And a lot of people were tweeting about this. They were wondering, why isn't Nike and Nike basketball, why are none of their accounts saying anything about this? Yes, it's a preseason game, but this is a huge day for Caitlin. She's returning to her alum. Who knows when she will play there again? And she hit a 36-foot three-pointer from her logo, the record-breaking logo where she beat the NCAA scoring record. Nike seems to be continuing to fumble the bag when it comes to Caitlin. She still doesn't have a signature shoe. The merch is very limited that they put out for Caitlin Clark, and a lot of fans are wondering why. People want to buy Caitlin Clark things, and they especially want to buy Caitlin Clark Nike things. Why is Nike continuing to wait so long into her WNBA career when you could have put something out last year and it would have sold out? It doesn't make much sense. And also the deal that Nike put on the table for Caitlin Clark, it seems like she is severely underpaid in this deal for the type of motion that she is bringing to the WNBA, the type of fan bases that she has, continually selling out arenas and just being the generational superstar that she is. I don't know what's going on with Nike. I hope they get on board quickly because we are all waiting for it and we are all wondering, is it so hard to just put out a social media post promoting your star player? Globally, one of the faces of not only women's basketball, but of basketball as a whole. Now, unfortunately, to end this video, we do have some not so great news, and that was just announced today that the Fever have made 2 cuts after the first week of camp. 3rd round pick Bree Hall and free agent signing Jillian Elaine. The roster now stands at 13. They need to get down to 11 for salary cap purposes by May 15th. And this is the sad part about the WNBA. Even if you are drafted to a team, that does not guarantee you a roster spot. The WNBA does not have a league like the NBA has with the G League, where they can assign players to the G League. They can flip back and forth between G League and playing in the NBA. The WNBA does not have that, and they also have significantly less teams than does the NBA. There is also less money to play with in the WNBA right now, so it is so much harder to make a final roster. And even somebody like Bree Hall, who went to South Carolina, even her being a 3rd round pick in the draft did not guarantee her a spot. It's sad to hear when players get cut, and hopefully both Bree and Jillian will find their way back into the WNBA at some capacity at some point in the future. But we are going to see this over the next few days coming from a ton of teams. My prediction on who will make the final roster, I think that final roster spot will go to Michaela Timpson. I think she has been playing the best out of the new players who are kind of on the chopping block for that last spot, and I think she will be the one who will end up on that final Fever roster. But with that, you guys, we are still only in the preseason. There is so much more to come. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And also, I would suggest that you guys turn on your notification bell as well, because we will be going live a lot more often and you don't want to miss out on that. So stay tuned for all of that. And with that, I've said that like 17 times in the last 30 seconds. But with that, you guys, I will see you next time. Ooh,